This one is the Shellmound site.
Did we lose the projector again?
Yes. Great.
I'm just going to say that right quick.
I'm pigging out of this one.
Oh, okay.
I've had my medicine for today.
Okay. Pardon me. So I'm just going to briefly introduce the parcel A. I'm not going to show any slides since it's not on here. We did have a study session in October of last year, and there were several concerns that were made. One, primarily the location of the pedestrian bridge connection. I think staff and the commission was pretty unanimous in wanting to see the pedestrian connection where it used to be in the approved PUD, which is through the building, through the Shellmound building. So that they have changed, and they have relocated where it was supposed to be. That is the one big change. There was a change in the unit mix as well. The unit mix, the total number has been reduced by about from 218 to 185. And they have increased the number of 3-bedroom units from, it was used to be 4%, now it is the same, and they've, I think they have increased their studios. There were several comments that were made at the community meeting. Traffic was identified as a big concern, and the need to find a good wayfinding signage was suggested. And Terraces resident expressed concern regarding the view blockage. So to address that, they have dropped the height of the northern portion of the building to 50 feet as was in the approved PUD. And they have also met with the Terraces condo complex earlier this month, and a letter from Cindy Trullo was attached to your, an email from Cindy Trullo was attached to your staff report. I believe she is present here today as well, and she may be speaking. So in terms of what we are looking for from you is, again, basically your ideas on design and the unit mix. In terms of staff, we do have an issue with the building design and massing, and also the choice of color and materials palette. We also feel that a good wayfinding signage is needed on both ends of the bridge walk. There was a lot of discussion on the public market sign that is proposed on the railroad elevation, but there was no agreement on whether the sign was appropriate for the site, so we would be looking forward to your ideas on that. And we felt that the roof treatment needed to be refined and be non-reflective, and I think the applicant has been working on that as well, along with the Terraces residents. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to the applicant to walk you through their design.
No, we're back.
Good evening. Nathan Hong. I'm a Senior Vice President with Avalon Bay, and we're happy to be here again with you tonight to show you our progress on both parcels A and D. And as Maru kind of highlighted, on parcel A, we've made a, we heard you loud and clear, and we made a conscious decision to come back and take a look at the pedestrian walkway connection to the bridge, and that's one of the reasons that the unit count's reduced. That in addition to reducing the height of the building on the south side. We, as Maru has also highlighted, we have with the architect met with the Terraces, and not only to kind of pay a little bit closer attention to what their views were and their vantage point, but also to kind of look at it from that from the so-called eastern elevation from the railroad end. Similarly, on parcel D, we've gone back and taken a look at that, and a much harder look at how the townhomes and works with the rest of the master development and 63rd Street and Shellmound. Taking a look at the building massing a lot more, and overall, in general, I think Maura also highlighted early on that we've also met with, of course, staff, but also with the city's design architect a few times to go through both the massing, the design aesthetics, and even as far as family-friendly and looking at our units and explaining to both the design architect and looking at it deeply ourselves to make sure we're addressing some of those components, but also getting input that we've incorporated. So overall, we're excited about where we are and love to show you the progress. And I'll turn it over to both our architect and our landscape architect to show you some of those details, and look forward to your comments.
Good evening. My name is Tom Cox, and I'm with TCA Architects. We're the architects for both Parcel A and Parcel D. I think, excuse me, granddaughter cold. I think most people come here in front of the design review group and the commission and thank you once you're finally let them go do their project. But for me personally, I'd like to thank you for our last study session, because it was very direct, very cryptic, very pointed, and very well thought out. As a result of that, it really caused the team to dig back into the project and look at what we had done. We thought we had a good building. I mean, we really came to you with honest and integrity, and we thought we had done a good job. But we missed some stuff, and so it becomes a team framework, I think, between city and architect and developer and builder and master planner to get that input and to go back and rethink what we thought was good and make it better. So what we're here to do tonight is we don't think we're done, and so we're looking for input. What we want to do is present to you what we heard and then present to you what we thought we did to make it better. So initially, I think the biggest thing that came up, especially on Parcel A, we'll deal with A only, was the bridge connection. And what we had done initially was take the bridge behind the building and put it into a public plaza. And it became extremely clear to us very, very quickly that that was not what you were looking for. So we went back and dug in. There was two things that affected the building dramatically. One is the 50-foot height limitation on the south side, and the actually 140-foot height limitation on the north side, which really set up a dynamic on these two buildings that was very much different than what we had before, which was an 85-foot building all the way across the street. That was the approved footprint and the approved height limitation that was in the PUC. So that made us really look at a completely different approach to the building, and driving the walkway from the bridge between the two buildings and making a direct connection to the street, bringing people across and down, became our paramount concern. And how could we do that? We needed to make our spaces safe. We needed to make the walkway safe. We needed to make it a nice place to be, because this becomes part of the public realm. So we worked hard on that. We reduced the size of the building on the right. It became a much smaller building. We're now capped off at 50 feet on the south. You were concerned about the value of the corner plaza on the north side of the building. We still have a plaza, but it's much reduced, and that leasing center that we had that was sort of an iconic little building tucked around the corner, that building is no longer there, and we've moved the leasing and the lobby to our building into the center, and it gives a nice break between those two buildings. We've also tried to reflect more of the rhythm of the retail with the building and the building materials and and how we bring the building to the ground. And we've updated the colors and the materials, and we have all the percentages of those materials and how they're applied to the building as part of the package. We're using a combination of stucco, We're using cementitious panels, we're using metal, we're using rain screen, and we're using that judiciously throughout the entire building. Some of the things that we also did is that we created different programs for our courtyards. We do know that family friendly, and we've heard it tonight, both from the public and from you, that family friendly is very important. And as Nathan said, we took that into consideration, and we've made some, we hope, large moves towards that, and we'd like to talk to you about those tonight also. So the big idea, how do I do the full screen here? View.
Yeah, full screen, down there.
Down.
Down. There.
There you go.
There,
Whoa,
right there.
full screen. There we go, thank you. So again, we're dealing with parcel A. It's a triangular site that's on the right, and we've been through the master plan, the street scene, and all of that tonight. Now, we can probably move past that. The building to the south is now 50 feet, and it, as a reflection of the street and the streetscape and the scale of pedestrianization, is a much lower building. What we tried hard to do is to create a gateway. The gateway is earmarked by the tower that you see on the corner, and it tells people and helps identify where that break in the building is and how that pathway will work to get up to the bridge, through the pedestrian walkway, and over to the Amtrak station. So the gateway is a key component of what we're trying to create. We have the smaller building on the right, and then we have a larger building on the left. We did have a chance to meet with the city architect numerous times, talked about floor plans, materials, building, rhythm, color. We also had a chance to meet with the terraces folks, and we had a good interaction with them and a good dialogue, and some of their concerns are things that we're currently working on, but I think we heard what they had to say, and I'll try and illuminate some of those as we go through the rest of the project. We also wanted to make sure that we created distinct edges around the project. Each building always has 4 sides, and there's never really a back. So we try and do the right thing for all sides of the building and bring architecture as best we can to the building. So this is the street scene for the building, and we really we did again walk through Emeryville, and we looked to see what some of the messages were from the buildings that are in the city. It's definitely a manufacturing, formerly industrial. There's a strong office presence in the city, and we tried to emulate some of those thoughts. And then we have a very strong image and a very strong presence across the street, also with the public market. This diagram shows the retail and the pedestrian access to our leasing lobby, and also to the stair that goes up and over the top to the bridge. It shows our bicycle path. It shows the retail on right and left on our lobby, which is the blue area. A couple of things. One of the things that was brought up is that we only had 1 point of access, and it was on the north side. And we have introduced a second point of access, probably a primary point of access, on the south. So now the garage has a complete penetrability and access from 2 sides. So we think that helps a lot with traffic issues. We're about 13,500 square feet of retail. As you can see, we've pulled the building back on the north and south and tried to create an opportunity for some indoor-outdoor spaces. We pulled our leasing center and our lobby for our building and pulled that adjacent to the stair, and we're wrapping that with glass, and we're really looking forward to having a visible, transparent experience as you go up and down the stairs. April Phillips is here today, or tonight, or tomorrow morning, however long this goes, and she's going to be talking about the landscape. The building is wrapped around the outside, so parking garage is really never visible on this building. And you can see just that beginning hint on the right slide there of how the different courtyards interact with the pedestrian paseo, or the walkway that goes to the bridge. On our second level on the left, we have some of our recreation. We have our fitness center, our chill lounge. We have a plaza that's outside the units that goes up to another level. So there's multiple levels on the project, and I think it makes for an interactive and kind of a fun space to deal with. The building on the right also is now only 2 stories above the podium, getting us up to the 50 feet. So that lowers the profile and allows a lot more light and air into the building. So when you get a chance to reboot the screen, feel free.
It's not going to work.
Hey, I'm going to
yet.
try and look at this from here.
I know, it's not going to work yet. Light has
Not
to
yet?
turn red.
So this is a description of some of the materials, and we've taken the elements of the building and we've kind of blown them up so they're a little clearer to see. It's hard to do this with, you know, computer drawings and renderings, but the materials that we're envisioning are horizontal rain screens, cementitious panels. At the ground level, we're utilizing brick, board form concrete. At the retail, we're using storefront windows. Our windows are vinyl, thin profile, and dark. Just getting that on record real quick. And we also are using plaster, but we're using plaster in several colors. This would be a view looking as you're coming up Shellmound heading north, the corner of our building with the lower level retail, the upper level, you can see the cementitious panels turning. And so we didn't just cut the materials off at the corner, we tried to turn the corner and then create some kind of a continuity with the building. As we go down the southern side of the building, this is adjacent to the parking lot. You can see on the left-hand side, we're continuing the cementitious panels. Right at the end of that is where we have our delivery, trash, and all of our kind of loading and unloading. And then further to the right is where we have our entrance into the garage for pedestrians and guests. We are using cement plaster along that south side. And working with the city architect, we used a more contemporary rhythming of that building as we move towards the side where the railroad is. The top slide is turning that corner. This is the building that faces the railroad and also faces the terraces. Some of the concerns that have come up from the residents were a solid wall, because we now are creating a barrier on both sides, and sound reverberating back and forth was a concern. We've engaged a sound consultant to try and come up with a system of baffles on that wall or panels that will help dampen that sound, and so it doesn't cause a problem for the residences. Also, the residences were concerned that looking down on the roof of the short building, they can't see the tall building, but looking down on the roof of the short building, that they're going to just see mechanical equipment. So we've engaged our landscape architect to work with us at this point to, after we've laid out the California Title 24 requirements for our HVAC units, our condensers, our screening devices, to come up with some kind of a green screening device that will be on the roof and help block that view directly onto the So we've tried to create an articulation of the south. This is actually the penetration that you can see between the two buildings, the large tall building on the right and the low building. And it's that penetration that goes between the buildings, and we'll show you a blow up of how that walkway works and how it interacts with the courtyards for both sides. This is the northern side, and where we have our second entry. Turning the corner, that's the side that will face ultimately the garage that will be built as part of the master plan. This is a quick snapshot of the bridge connection, and in a second, April's going to come up and walk us through that in a second. Okay. And then there's a shot that looks down and across that bridge connection. The goal here was to create something that was interesting. Currently, the tower that we have has that stair that wraps around it. It's got a lot of blind spots. It doesn't smell very good on any given day. It's a little bit creepy, and it doesn't have that sense of security. We wanted to bring all of that into the walkway. So we need good lighting. We need good planting. We need an opportunity for people to sit down. We want it to be an experience of moving from the bridge to the sidewalk, and encourage people to actually utilize that space. So there's a section through the building. I think April's going to show you much better views of that. Another concern of the residents at the terrace was the height of our building. So initially we had an 85-foot building all the way across. The PUC, the master plan said that that's not what was envisioned. So this slide shows looking down from the terraces, they were generous enough or nice enough to let us go up into their units and look down and take some photography. We dropped those photographs into what is the approved master plan, which is on the lower right, and on into our project, which is the lower left. If you look straight across from the tracks, you can see the profile of the building, 50 feet to the roof of our building on the left, and then what is allowed 140 feet, or 45, and our building is now at 85. So that's the kind of a comparative analysis of what the views are and what was approved. Materials is a big issue and always a concern. And I know last time we were here, there was a concern that we had too much stucco. So we went back and actually did a complete takeoff and allocated our materials and the location of those materials around the building. And we've given you a percentage breakdown of how those materials occur. So I think, again, it's a little hard for me to see even, but I think our stucco exposure is about 30%, and every other 70% is something else. And that's an example of the materials that we're anticipating using. Floor plans. We're now 185 units, and there's a mix. These units are anticipated to be kind of cool, hip, and contemporary. We have one bicycle parking spot for every single unit on the property, and AVB, as an owner, allows bicycles to be brought up and hung in the units, and they even provide in a number of units something called a gear wall, which gives you the opportunity to bring your bike up if you actually own a decent bike. 3-bedroom features. There's a lot of talk about family friendly, and typically a project like this, we wouldn't see much of the 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, but this became a very a big focal point for us with the community, with you, and with ownership. And so what we've tried to do is create opportunities that enhance and encourage families to live here. So our 3-bedroom units consist of a series of things that we went through and tried to create opportunities for families. Larger storage. I mean, we heard things like, where do I put the stroller? Where do I, things that are larger and more cumbersome. So we created larger storage. Where does my child study? We created alcoves for studying. How do we eat together as a family if we only have a bar? We created separate dining rooms. Along with the 2 bedrooms, double washer and dryer. We think these are some of the key components of creating successful family-friendly units. On the outside spaces, we also created areas where we have chalkboard walls, we have areas for people to sit, we have a movie wall that we've incorporated into our plaza, the lower terrace, and we've also designated the upper terrace as family-friendly opportunity. So, with that, I've talked way too long, April's going to help me out, and we'll be here together and hopefully get some interaction and dialogue going, and take good notes.
Okay. Hi, I'm April Phillips with April Phillips Design Works, and this has been a fun project to take to this next level to before you today. I have my little handout in case I can't see over there if it goes out again. But our goal here is to create an environment that's indoor and outdoor. There's a blend that we really can celebrate the fact that we're in California. And the trick here is really to concentrate on the landscape, making it fun, making it accessible, making it modern, making it contemporary, and really do some what we hope is you're going to see is some cool things. It is down button. There. Oh, whoops, no. Uh-oh. What did I do? Shoot. Help me. Oh, there. Over there.
Just that down.
Just that one, okay. So as Tom said, we actually have a lot of zones because of the grade change. One of the key things in dealing with the grand stair, the linear park, if you will, is that we have to get up 32 feet. Okay, and we want to make it fun, and that becomes sort of the whole blue area is our park district, the public realm that goes through the space. On the left-hand side, on the north, is what we're calling the sun deck terrace, because that is at a different elevation. And on the right-hand side, we actually have two elevations. So the brown represents the upper level that you get off of from the linear park zone, and then the chill-out zone is below. So there's all these different grade changes happening, which makes it a very fun place to go through and experience. Go back. All right, and this is it all together. So one of the things we wanted to do was actually also make it dynamic. How do you get through these spaces and really push people through? So the way we decided to do it on this project is this use of lines and angles. And we thought that would help to guide people in a fun way without being pushy about it. And so one of the big things that we did is at the bottom is to really understand how can we make 30 feet of grade change on the stairs fun? So we see it as a cross between the Spanish Steps and the High Line. And we want to create places and eddies along those stairs that not only do you, for the people who are commuting and want to go up and down fast, they can either go straight up the stairs in one manner, but also benches and seats so people could come out here and have their lunch, have a cup of coffee, whether you're shopping, take a break. So the stairs become a lingering place, not just a pass-through space. And we think that's going to make it a very unique place within Emeryville to everybody's going to want to come. And they're right across from the public market, so there's this really great synergy. We also brought the pedestrian bridge elevator up towards this plaza. So if you don't want to go up the stairs, you go right up the elevator, and I'm not going to point, but you can see a little square. I'm afraid to touch anything here. And I've shown some of the grades so you can begin to see what we tried to do was go up the stairs in a way where the landings were comfortable for people, and then you could go up again and again. So that's the main thing about the stairs. We also want to do a fun thing with lighting. So you can see in the upper right, all of these images on the right-hand side are inspiration. So possibly using LED lights and some kind of lighting effects so that at night you can come up the building and up the stairs and you see some fun ways of lighting it. We're looking at the walls against the building to incorporate history into some of the features, and then how we mask the landscape and how we do the patterning of the ground plane, so possibly some linear banding kind of patterns. We're going to look at all these things. One of the key things I want to say here right now is that we're also looking at how do we create sort of a fun artistic event, and we're calling it the overhead gateways, and those are those red bars, and how it kind of connects and works with the building. We're not sure yet, but the idea was that you continue to have these canopy, thin lines of light, that, if you will, that would get you to the bridge. And so it keeps you going, keeps you moving, it draws you through. Next. And the image in the middle is sort of that idea of something that is very simply lit. It wouldn't be that many, but there may be 4 of them through the path to get you through. Again, the idea of sitting on the stairs as well as stairs happening against you. And then because we have this grade change, we actually have the opportunity in that linear park to actually not always just have raised planters. I know you guys talked about the 4-foot planters. This is one area where we can actually go underground more. We have a little more headroom. And that's usually the issue of why you have 4-foot planters, is because there's really not, between the structural slab and above, you have to go up, not down. So we think this is a great opportunity. So this is the view looking towards the elevator wall. And you see the stairs really come out into the public realm so that you really feel removed from the building and are on this stairs that is its own thing. And there's the opportunity for the wall right at the elevator, and then you come up, and as you can see, we begin to have landscape. And you can really sense the distance, because there's the bridge over the Amtrak lines and the train lines, and then how you get down. So it's quite a long walk, but it's going to be fun and beautiful. And this is the other direction. So these are some concept imagery, inspiration imagery of how we might integrate some of that idea of history or fun into the wall and really kind of capture sort of the hip quality of this area. And so that's looking at the lower building. You can really feel the difference in the scale on each side of the space. And the nice thing is the stair that is mostly near the lower building, so it's really not overscaled and overpowered by the building height. So I think this really kind of cool, and it lets in more light. And then these are examples of how we see the different terraces. And one of the things I want to point out is the really interesting thing having this public realm through our space is how do we interface it and also create porosity between it. We don't want to shut our courtyards out of the space. We want to kind of integrate it, but we also want to feel like it is a different space. So if you can come out of the courtyard and down in the space if you want to go out to the public market, or if you're coming to visit somebody and you know that's the gate, they can meet you at the gate and come in. And there you go. So where was I? I have my space here because I can't see that far. And I guess I can put my okay. So the one on the left is what we're calling the sun terrace, and we really see, again, using forms and spaces to create more fun. We have this idea of creating these folding benches and folding walls. I personally don't like to just see planter walls when I go to a podium. I want to see benches hanging on walls. I want my walls to become another feature. So what we're doing in this one is really kind of creating fire pits with sort of angled walls that create a sort of real cool nook. High bar tables that allow you to kind of glimpse and see other people. We have we're thinking of using pebble seating in the sun terrace, and then there's a whole area to put sort of more lounging type of chairs so that people can relax. And this is where we see a lot of sun coming in because it's the opening from the smaller building down to the space. On the right-hand side, as you go through, once you come in, you can actually go into the building either way, or you can go down the stairs. And at the stairs, we also took the same idea that we've done at the grand staircase coming up from the plaza on the urban realm and created sort of an amphitheater effect. So some of the seats, the stairs become benches again, and this is the area where we have a movie wall because our grade is about 15-foot difference roughly from one terrace to the other. So the back wall, we can do the movies, and this is the lower terrace is the one with our chill lounge. So the idea is that this is the social nest hub, and you can come out with your computers, you're gonna come up there for nights for movies. Again, another fire pit, really cool seating. And one of the things we're really trying to do is every patio on each of these podiums, we're coming out. So people have access also on those levels to come in and out of these spaces. And the various materials, of course, would be sympathetic with the building, but we're looking concrete, pavers, wood, metal, all of those different things. And so on. We're still not on. And this is one of the sections through the terraces. And you can begin to see how the forms, how fun it is. I mean, again, with the family-friendly idea, actually every space is family-friendly. The most fun for the kids might be any of them because all of the things are going to be done in such a way that's discovery, it's unique, it's a little bit different, you can climb it, you can sit in it. It's not just it's not like a play structure, if you will. Though on the upper terrace on the right, we do have the chalkboard. We have the ability to have a climbing object wall. We have sort of the pebble seating, which could be also climbed on. So we're trying to integrate things so that it just is a great experience and an interesting place to be. On the family activity terrace too, we do have the bigger barbecue, the more communal tables. So in other areas we have smaller groupings. So we're really thinking uniquely how people can use the space and go through the space. And I think we are very close. The last page we had was just, again, some images. We're having one area where you can do yoga outside. We have just how we would group the tables and chairs, the notion of the lounges in the sun area, and then we're really just, again, looking at materials. So this is just sort of the first blush at the kind of way the features that we might use and how it might feel. Kind of fun, again, and being outdoors and celebrating that. And here, and Tom, you may want to come back up.
So that's pretty much it. I think one of the really fun things about this is the challenge that you gave us that we initially, I think, balked at, which was running that public space through two private areas. And what happened is, as a result of that, we found that the interaction between the private spaces and the public walkway became very dynamic. One of the suggestions we got at the very beginning from the bridge to the center of the first building was to create some townhouses along that edge. They gave it kind of a stoop and porch feel as you came off of the bridge and started on your pathway down to the street. And so we did. We incorporated some townhouses along that edge. And after we looked at them, they were really kind of fun because they're 2-story townhouses. They're pretty unobtrusive, and it feels like a little village. We also have gates so that you can come and go to the bridge from the entire building. So the encouragement for us is to get people to actually get out, cross the bridge, use Amtrak, use the buses, use Emeryville. Try and get that connectivity to the street, the connectivity to the transportation, and really try and enforce that. So as a result, we've made, I hope, some really solid headway. And again, we know we're not done. And we're looking for your input, and we welcome it. Thanks.
Thank you. Any questions for the applicant?
Couple. The townhouses that do access that central corridor
Yes.
that you're just mentioning, do they, I see they've got little porches or patios at that level. Do they have access? Like, they get from their patio to that walk?
Yes.
That public walk? Okay.
Yes, that is the intention. We thought that if we didn't do that, that they would be meaningless.
Okay.
So we wanted to have direct access. Some of them, one of the comments that came from the last study session was I think gentleman said he wanted to see some kind of a slope, take out some of that, the height with some slope. So from the bridge towards where the stairs are, we have a very gentle 2 to 3% slope. So what that does is it starts dropping the bridge down below the level of the townhouses. So now we have an opportunity to create those little stoops and porches. It was a natural, wonderful thing that happened. And when somebody suggested it, we go, oh, you can't do that. You got people right on the walkway. And then we did it, and it was great. So that's the thing about interaction. I mean, sometimes you just don't see, you work on something really, really hard, and you get blinded to what the opportunities are. And so this has opened up a great, a different look at how this building operates, these buildings.
The privacy fences that are between the private courtyards and the public way, I mean, is that completely opaque, or is that, I mean, is there visibility through those?
There's visibility through them.
There is, okay.
Yeah, we think, again, that physical eye to eye, eyes on that walkway. The important thing for us, too, is that to have that walkway be safe, it has to be well lit. It has to have people with eyes on that walkway 24/7, as much as we possibly can. So the answer is yes, it is a permeable space, yes.
And I guess my last one was just the sign. I mean, have you had conversations with the terraces and
You mean that big sign that we put up?
Yeah.
Well, our goal here was, and it was a little controversial. People are going, don't show the sign. But we wanted to show you the sign. Wanted to show you the sign because we wanted that question. We want to announce the public marketplace. We want people coming across that bridge to know where they're going and to make it, again, to make it fun. So these are just devices that we're trying to find that make this a unique experience. So yes, we haven't talked to anybody, I don't think, of this. I think you've seen the sign, but then they said, don't show the sign. But we think the sign could be really fun. Yeah.
All right, any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go ahead and open the public comment on this item. So if anyone would like to speak on Public Marketplace Shellmound site, I think also known as Site A, please come forward.
Hi, I'm Cindy Truelove, and the good news is I don't have the measles, but I have something, so I apologize for my voice. We just really want to, first of all, thank the Commission, Planning Commission, for all that you've done already, and to help move this kind of in a direction that makes it much more exciting for those of us who live at the terraces and want to move forward with great infill, but still have our views left and still have a really exciting community. So we noted that with what we saw when they came to us already, and thanks to the proponents who were willing to come twice, once to come shoot from several of our terraces, to then be able to create a real sense of what this would look like, and then again to come on as guests of our board to present to our community. We had 10 or 15 people and had lots of interest, and I just mostly I'm here to say thank you. But I do want to just share that there were a couple of concerns, and I think Tom certainly covered one of them, which is the sound canyoning problem that we think could be a problem, and so we're very grateful for their efforts to create some baffling something that will affect that to the degree that it's possible. Secondly, there's also a big concern with a big white roof that we'll all be looking down on. When TMG worked with us around this project, they proposed some sort of green roof, and we know, we're not going to have the California Academy of Sciences out our window, but something that will be appealing and not just reflect heat back to us. So we look forward to continuing to collaborate with the proponents and with you all to make that possible. And I will say, no, there was no discussion of the sign. No, I mean, we know we live in an urban environment, and I'm sure if we can come up with something that's aesthetically pleasing and that won't block views and would invite people into our neighborhood, that would be a good thing. But thank you again for coming to visit and for hearing us.
Anyone else like to speak?
Me again. My wife, who's also an architect, attended one of the community meetings, and where there were many problems with the previous scheme, and I told her that when it's always nice for architects to hear good things when they do make positive changes. So both of us feel that this is a tremendously improved scheme, that it's really a very good response to the criticism that they received. The through walkway is the natural solution. I've used that bridge many a time. And so I think it's a really good scheme, and the overall building I think is quite nice. I think it's a kind of elegant, clean, contemporary modernism that I think of when I think of the Emeryville projects that are going on. One comment that I would make about the walkway through is I noticed that there are these planters and sort of pinch points. I'd be a little careful about the clearances as one moves through there. The bridge right now is none too wide. And, I've taken my bike across. Many people take bikes across, people walk, etc. And so I would be careful about pinching down that walkway to narrow points. The red gates, I was just going to mention that you might look up Fushimi Inari in Japan, that series of red gates that reminds me of. That's a kind of playful reference, and I think it's a fun idea. I like generally the spirit of the landscaping. In terms of the sign, one is it doesn't block views from the terraces because of its location. It's going to be right in line with the taller building. Secondly is I think it's really critical to have, because I know that I've oftentimes seen people who stop at Amtrak who are strangers to Emeryville. They're waiting for a train. They don't know what's over there. And now all you'll see is this apartment building. You won't know that there's a public market. You'll just see a bridge going to an apartment building. And so if you're a stranger, you will not, you need that sign. Right now you can see the public market, and you can see the public market sign. So I would strongly encourage that sign be included, because like I say, otherwise people will not know it's there. So anyway, I think it's a very strong project, and I'm very happy to see the kinds of adjustments that the developer and the architects have made.
Any other speakers? All right, seeing none, we'll close the public comment. And we'll go ahead and bring this back for discussion. And we've got about 20 minutes before, a little more than 20 minutes before we need to extend the meeting. So let's see if we can get through this one item before we have to extend. So, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, well, as usual, mine are written down, so I'll try to get through them pretty quickly. First of all, this is a much improved project. Thank you very much. A big thank you for relocating the central staircase and lowering this southern building. A couple of things regarding the staircase, and I understand the playfulness and the fun and everything, but please straighten out the path. I understand the desire to make it interesting and inviting, but like the path through Christie Park, we're trying to reprogram the thinking towards walking as a transit option more than just a recreational activity. So walking paths more than any other path need to be direct and not zigzagged. Secondly, I need to ask that you add bike troughs on the stairways. Bikers would like the option of taking the stairs as well as the elevators, and Wareham has agreed to install them on their eastern side of their staircase. It just makes them so much easier to traverse. I actually was coming home from work yesterday, and at 65th Street, I came across a 3-city train that was going slower than I could bike ride. So I rode to the train station and actually carried my bike up and over the stairs because I don't use those elevators, and actually ran into another biker coming up the other way because we couldn't see each other. So bikes would definitely use this bridge, and we definitely need some bike troughs in there. And I'm actually, when it actually comes to us for approval, I'm going to make that a condition of approval if they're not in the plan, or request that anyway. I really like everything else you've done with the bridge connection. I think you've really, really come a long way. There are a couple of points where I strongly disagree with the city's development coordinating committee. I don't feel we want more articulation and better use of color. These are the methods that of the past that we're trying very hard to steer away from. I don't feel the public art component should coordinate with what's being done under the Powell Street Bridge. It's a bit like buying a painting to match your sofa. Each piece of art that we install should stand on its own merits. One piece of art does not need to match any others. If it did, it would be decoration and not art. The Eastern Railroad side of the building needs more work. It's really looking like the backside of a building. Just some quick suggestion is maybe increase the size of the windows on there. And I'm speaking more of the more southern building than the more northern building, the one that's all brown and has the little slit windows. So maybe increase those windows, and then maybe you could do something with your public art there. Maybe that could be where your public art goes to really break that up. The public market sign, again, is where I agree with the DCC indirectly. I like the sign. It reminds me of Pike's Place Market in Seattle, which is very iconic. If it's not well received, maybe you take it off the roof and mount it on the side of the building, right by the staircase there, to where it's still there, still visible, but not up on there. But I kind of like it up on the thing. And like our resident architect had suggested, with that new building blocking that, the other consideration is when the transit building gets built, the stairs for that entrance is going to be way over on Horton Street. So when someone's standing on the platform, they're not going to be able to know how to get over there and what's over there. So I think something there is really important. So I think, it does work, and it is a wayfinding sign, which was requested that we put wayfinding there. In addition, I like the wayfinding signs that you showed, both in the plan pages L1.2 and again on L1.3, the ones that are embedded, that have kind of the brass lettering or the arrows and stuff. I think they're very artful and easy to interpret. As a suggestion, I'm thinking on the side, on your side of the tracks, the signs could direct people to the Amtrak station, Doyle Hollis Park, or San Pablo Avenue. We want to put stuff in there because it's permanent that are not going to go away, so I don't think we'd want to put business names and stuff like that in there. I feel the north section of the building, where the bike shop and pet wash are located, need windows. If they may be transom windows, they may be opaque, but there needs to be some form of natural light coming into those spaces. And fresh air would also be nice if it could be done securely. There are a few areas that I need to see more detail, and those are the illustrations on page A2.1, A6.3, and A1.2 showing the new location of the crosswalks. There seems to be some conflicting ideas of where the actual crosswalk will go. I believe it's now showing in most of the drawings where most people want it, and I need to know if the bus is still there in front of the central staircase. So when you come back, if you can kind of really tell us exactly where the bus is going to be and where the crosswalks are going to be placed, that'll be helpful. And explain the finished treatment of the garage levels on the south side that are going to face the Hyatt House. I can kind of get an idea, but I really kind of want to know what those are going to look like. So again, because I think the point is really clear from all of us that we don't want things looking like a parking garage. And then give detail of the south-facing upper level of the north building. So as you're looking from the bridge through the courtyard and to that north facade, the illustrations in the plan doesn't really show me windows and how that is going to look. I'm sure it's going to be great looking, but it would be helpful to approve a project where we could see it. And then something, your plans here that you showed tonight on the presentation gave us the idea, but I'd like to see the plans, how those different levels of the courtyards look. I think that's an amazing idea. That looks really, really exciting. I like the activities and everything you guys have put in there. So that's my comments. I think it's a good job. Thank you.
Well, I also am very, very happy to see the grand staircase back, so thank you very much. And it's great. I definitely disagree with the bigger scale on the railroad side, which was in one of the beginning diagrams where you're talking about the different sides of the buildings. I think that the integrity of the project really comes in question when the treatment changes so drastically and becomes kind of like the backside of the building, which is really what both of those look like to me. So that needs a lot of work. I also, on the grand staircase, looking at, I would really like to see section or elevations of both the north side and the south side, explaining if there's this history wall, really making sure that there is a human scale to the entire project. It sounds like there's going to be, but I'd really like to see that fleshed out. And also on the larger steps going down towards Shellmound, I would like to, I'm thinking we could green it up a little bit too. I know it's relatively shady space, some sun in the afternoon, but maybe some of those seat walls could also be planters to bring people down. I really like the LED arbors, and I think that works to carry you along. But the weird shaped kind of trapezoid bed, that on the main path of travel is cutting it really tight, and I agree that it needs to be a main thoroughfare. And I like the whimsy, but it needs to be much greater access all the way across for actual moving of people and bicycles. The sign. I also think that it's a good idea to have a sign because you're on, but I think it's a little large. So I'm guessing we could probably tone that down a little bit. So the last thing is the landscape plan definitely is fun and family friendly. The activity areas are great, but the mix of the current proposal of bedrooms is not at all. And so that would really need to increase in terms of having 2 and 3 bedrooms to have room for families. It's our actual, from the October study session, we've gone backwards, so that's not really all right. And the last thing is the use of materials. I think that we're really looking to see a higher quality of materials. Looking at the 3706 San Pablo project, there was maybe we move along the lines of using some type of wood-grained rain screen. And rain screen is basically just cement board with lines in it. Is that correct, or am I mistaken? Usually.
Necessarily, but
No. Excuse me.
Many materials.
It can be many materials. So I would need to see that fleshed out a little bit more to get on board with that. And also, I think the more sedate color combinations that we're looking to see more of in Emeryville, and more refinement in general. That's it.
Well, and to save time, I'll just comment on a couple of things here. I'd like to see the elevations of these 2 buildings somehow match one another, so it doesn't look like 2 separate buildings as it seems to in this one perspective that we have on the screen right now. And I'm very pleased with the new path layout and the bridge relationship. That's it.
I think it's going in a great direction. I really like that the grand stairs there. I do think that path of travel needs to be a little bit more continuous, and I definitely agree that it needs the bike trough. So in order to do that and do it well and have people be able to move up and down those easily without conflict, you need to work the configuration out a little bit. The rear facade, I also agree, needs a little bit more work and more interest, and I definitely would like to see much more of a green roof element, not necessarily the Academy of Sciences, but I think that that would be a wonderful opportunity. Again, it'll be visible from a lot of different places, so, and it's something that we should be doing, just because we should be doing those kinds of environmentally sensitive things. I'm really excited. I was very excited to see the exploration of materials around the walkway and the courtyards and the terraces and things like that. And I would love to see a little bit more richness of the materials on the building, on the apartment buildings themselves, and also an upping. A lot of the buildings that we have that we're saying are family-friendly don't actually have real family-friendly outdoor spaces. It seems like you're creating that, so increasing the bigger units in order to make that work better makes a lot of sense. And I would also like to see some less studios, less one-bedrooms, and more units that would actually bring children in, that would have, be able to take advantage of those fun spaces.
Yeah, I appreciate a lot of what you're doing here. It's really coming together. I guess I only really have a few comments. The alignment of the crosswalk with the stairs, I think, is important. And even for what's across the street, it makes more sense than the current alignment or the offset alignment. I mean, this is a case where I think there is merit to having the sign. I think if you're going to have this public market sign, it really needs to be a work of art. It needs to be something like the Grand Lake sign, maybe not quite that flashy and large, but something that people are all, I mean, it basically represents the neighborhood, and that's where I think there's a lot of value in it. And then to the unit designs and really looking at some of the unit designs, the 2 bedrooms that look more like dormitory style housing than anything that a family would ever rent or buy. That's it.
Okay. So yeah, thanks for putting the grand staircase back in. I think it's a great addition. There are some. I think because of that, I mean, obviously this is an entirely different proposal than we saw last time. I think there are some elements of the architecture that dropped out that I miss. One is kind of there were some really kind of irregular balconies on the last design that we saw that I really kind of liked. I thought it was kind of playful and it added some interest to the building. I think this building has gotten a lot more regular, and I think there's some room to play with it a little bit and be a little bit more irregular. I think that the one thing I would really like to see is so in this image that we're looking at here, that corner of the building is going to be a really key. It's a really key focal point of that building and a really key entrance to the whole marketplace. That's going to be how a lot of people arrive, and that's going to be one of their first views of the marketplace. I'd really like to see a stronger corner on that building, and maybe a more vertical feature or something on that corner. But there's just something to add interest, I think. I will also, Tom, I'm going to say I will mourn the loss of the cube, but not for very long. But I do miss the cube. And then just lastly, the sign I think is kind of obscenely large and out of scale with the building. I'm not the biggest fan of roof signs. I think, if a roof sign, I mean, I think there's a lot of opportunities here to do something that is not a roof sign. I mean, you could put a wall sign on, at the same elevation on the taller building. You could put a wall, there's plenty of blank wall space on the lower building to put a wall sign as well. I think if you really must do a roof sign, I think something, something more horizontally oriented that is more in scale with the building. But I think right now it just looks really out of scale. And then also that those elevations that face the railroad tracks, I think there's a lot of room for improvement there. I understand the sound issues, and I thank you guys for working with the terrace residents on that issue. When that kind of all gets fleshed out, would really like to see you look at the three-dimensionality of that elevation. Right now, it's very flat. You know, the windows are kind of irregular and add some interest, but it looks pretty flat. It could just be the elevation that we're looking at, but yeah, I would love to see you play with the three-dimensionality, the materials, the colors. I think there's a lot of room there to explore different techniques. But all in all, I think it's a good project. Love what you've done with the stairway and that pedestrian link. And I also want to echo the request for a bike trough. I think that's a great idea.
And one thing I just thought of is, I mean, that's my gateways thing, but you could do some kind of a gateway sign when the bridge drops into the, you know, into that cut. It could even be lit up. It could be something. Isn't there a boardwalk or pier somewhere that has sort of a,
over the...
Yeah. Like that.
Yep. All right. So I think that concludes this item.
Meeting?
What's that?
Can we extend the meeting now?
Yeah, how long do you guys think we can?
Seems to take a half hour at least.